Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
What's up, Mike?
All right, Phil, we're here on another podcast, and I'm excited. I'm excited because this is like, you know, it's like post-election. We could talk about something other than politics, although we might mention that a few times today, as we always do, but got a lot to cover today, so let's get right on it.
Well, last week I had some things I wanted to talk about, but I felt like I didn't want them to intersect with the politics that we were talking about.
Right.
Like we got great news that Overland EXPO has added an extra event. I'm sure you know more about it than I do.
Well, truthfully, I don't know a lot about it. I do know that it is being called the Overland EXPO SoCAL event, and it's based in Costa Mesa, California. So Southern California, March 15 and 16. So it's a 2-day event. There's a couple differences I've noticed. One, it's a 2-day event. So it's limited. It's a lot shorter than your normal Overland Expos. It's in a major, obviously, metropolitan area downtown. I don't know what to think of this. To me, it looks like it's going to be, dare I say, more SEMA and less Overland, or I would say that certainly the focus is less on the education side and more on the vendor side. What do you think of that?
I think it's smack dab in the middle between a SEMA and an Overland Expo event. I know that OC Fair and Event Center in MESA, California.
Yep.
It's absolutely big enough to absolutely. A matter of fact, they could do another event while they were another smaller event. They could do at the same time. I just don't see how specifically an Overland event fits into this type of facility. It, like I said, it has the size for the number of people. It just don't seem like it fit. And I plan on going, so maybe when I get there, I'll see something and be like, and there'll be some kind of epiphany. But there's a couple of, and actually there are fair and event centers also. There are other fair and event centers in California that are bigger and better, closer to the coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to note that they are going to have camping, which I think when I first heard the announcement of this event, I wasn't so sure that was even going to be part of this, but it looks like there is. Being a first year event, I guess you never know what the turnout's going to be. And I think probably it'll take them maybe a couple of years to figure out who the audience is. I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, that the target is probably, day pass attendees that are coming in. It's a shopping event, right? I mean, that's what I would think.
Yes, because I mean, I can easily see there's definitely place for you to camp. It's just not going to be a camping vibe. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
There's a place for you to set your vehicle up and go to sleep that night, and you can. I don't know.
Plus, Phil, there's only Saturday. It's only a Saturday and Sunday event, so you only get one free drink ticket for Saturday night. It's not a 3-night thing.
I get the impression that they think that they can fill this place up with, like you said, day people, and that they can do it with just people in the region. They're not looking for people to drive across the country to this one, it looks like to me.
Yeah, that would be my bet as well. So anyways,
California and that region is big enough where this can be a huge event, but it's going to be totally different.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Agreed. And speaking of that, while we're talking about this, just now we had SEMA going on, And I saw some. I don't know if you followed any of that. I've been following it loosely. I've been watching some posts of some friends that have been attending it in Las Vegas, but there seemed like there was a couple cool things I saw coming. Hopefully, you always see things at SEMA, and that's part of that event is to sort of premiere new ideas. Some of them crazy, some of them will never happen. But I saw a couple cool Toyota concept things with the Land Cruiser in particular, and there were a couple other. There was a new of particular interest, and I'm going to screw it up right now because I'm going to tell you the wrong brand. There was a new truck I saw debuted that looked like it could happen, and it like a new van, and it was from Phil. Who was it from? I don't remember. I want to say it was.
Is it Canoe?
Yeah, was it? Well, I don't. No, I think it was one of the big manufacturers. I want to say Kia, but I could be wrong on that. I thought it was a South Korean. Maybe it was Hyundai.
Maybe it was something else. I know it was with the sound of a K in the beginning.
Yeah.
Kia or a Canoe or.
Yeah. Anyways, I saw some interesting things. And if that happened, I was like, oh, that could be cool. But always worth watching.
I can't help it. I just can't help it. I had to watch different people I follow, just like you, for the SEMA thing. But everything that they were showing me, I was like, these are some of the most high dollar ticket items I have ever seen people. Usually people will show you a couple of fantastic vehicles and then they show you more reasonable stuff. But it seemed like everything was like a really high dollar item, and it just seems like overlanding is really becoming overpriced even more, and it's always been. I don't see a bunch of people getting that Land Cruiser because what I'm thinking it's going to be 150 or more.
Oh, for sure. The ones that I saw set up there, absolutely. And that's something that you and I have talked about before. I mean, that begs the question, is the Overland market going in the opposite direction as, say, the economic climate in the United States and the world in general? It almost seems like, I don't want to say this because we always go controversial at some point. I almost want to say the Overland market's a little tone deaf, that they're not really hearing what's happening out there, because I agree. Everything I saw at SEMA, sometimes you see some cool new gadgets, right? The people will take trucks and they'll put like, different accessories on them, but that's not as much as what I saw this year. I saw like just completely fabricated total rig setups. You know what I mean? And maybe it's just what we were getting. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if is that a tone deaf situation or not, or hey, maybe they're just super optimistic that this new Trump administration is going to turn this thing all around really fast, and the economy will be different. I don't know.
A lot of the vehicles I saw, a lot of the things that I saw, and for the price that they're at, I don't see mass numbers of people buying anything that I saw.
Yeah.
I definitely see a market, but these companies are major companies. So if they don't move product, they don't make money. They have to move big numbers. And I don't see any of those vehicles moving big numbers, not even close to big numbers.
I just spilled some water here, so I'm just making sure it doesn't get in my keyboard.
The things that I see them doing, it seems like a niche company that was like, there used to be a bunch of little niche electric companies in California where you could like get a old time Land Cruiser and they'd make it electric or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, exactly.
And those things were like $200,000. And but the major companies, the big brands now are trying to do the same thing, but they're trying to sell it to the masses. And I don't see that. I just don't see it.
Well, that's the thing, is we've seen that over the years, right? We've seen the change in where the big brands have gotten involved in the overland market in general, right? And they've bought up other smaller brands, as a matter of fact. So there's a whole change of kind of the economics of what goes into products. And we've seen that shift at Overland Expos, right? We've seen bigger and bigger companies come in every year, and in some cases to the elimination of some of the smaller brands, right?
Mm-hmm. And I have a difference of opinion on something that I thought differently before, and that was I kind of liked when, like, I'm just making something up, like a Ford, instead of letting all of these other companies come up with great ideas, they start putting some of the things actually on the vehicle. A lot of these vehicles now, you can buy them with almost everything set up, and you don't have to go to aftermarket people.
That's what
and originally I thought it was a great idea, but the reality is a lot of people, they struggle to pay for that vehicle first. And then they chip away at paying for all of those extra things. And that's what ends up making that expensive vehicle they have affordable to them. But if I got to make the decision to buy the full kitted out one or kit it myself, some people are just deterred completely.
Yep.
So it's not inviting to a new person, maybe a person that's already in it, maybe. But if I'm going into it, that's a big thing to overcome. Either buying the vehicle all the way kitted out, now I've got like a mortgage that I'm paying for this thing, or I buy the lesser one and I build it myself, but I really wanted the one that was all the way kitted out. So it puts you in a conundrum.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just more upfront capital, right? So
right.
The bottom line entry to the market is become more difficult. And you could argue has less flexibility as well then, because if you the quote, the DIYers that we always talk about, sometimes they can mix and match products from different sources. And, that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do that if everything comes, on the vehicle in the first place. There's no a la carte to it then, right?
I can't remember what year it was, but I had a Jeep that had a lifetime warranty on it. And that sounds good, but it was a Rubicon with everything already set up on it.
Yep.
It was their products. But it didn't allow me to do anything to the vehicle because it would null and void that warranty.
Yeah.
So imagine you on some international trip and you've got to make some alterations just to get by till you get home to use your warranty. And now the warranty is no good.
Right.
So, and most people don't even know that.
That's right.
They have a vehicle and they think that warranty, like if you just buy an American-made, just a regular American-made car with a regular warranty, you can't go to a Ford dealer in another country and use that warranty. And it's a Ford dealer you're going to.
Yeah.
So they've just made it worse where now everything on the vehicle, I got to find this Ford dealer or this Jeep dealer or whatever dealer.
Well, and that's part of the game, right? I mean, the dealerships make their money on repair, service, maintenance, routine maintenance, and all that stuff. So,
they make more money in the service department.
Yeah, for sure. So, what else is going on, Phil? How do we feel after last week?
I've just been enjoying all the DMs and messages rolling in.
I know. I just want to say this. Can I just say this? Can we just say we told you so? Can we just say that just once? If you didn't tune in last week,
say that.
Yeah,
say that.
I know, but if you didn't tune in last week, Phil and I put out 4 mini casts, we'll call them, with the election happening on Tuesday. And we had the week prior to that, we had predicted what we felt like was going to happen in the election. And basically, as we stand today now, a week and a half after the election, we really weren't wrong on anything.
No.
Just saying.
And it has a lot to do with something that I mentioned to you, Mike. Like, you have more of a pulse of what's going on, if you're traveling around the country.
Yeah, and I took that to heart when you said that, Phil. I went back after that night, and I thought about that a lot because I go, what makes us have any difference, say, than a regular pollster or that guy that was out there with his 9 keys to the White House, or what's the guy with Adam Silver or whatever the guy's name is with the silver thing, or any of those prediction sites. And the only thing I could come across is those guys, similarly to politicians who go to Washington, and this is one of the arguments against or arguments for term limits, is that they stay there so long that they lose complete and total sight of actually what is occurring in America, right? And I thought about that, and what you said is actually really interesting because I've talked to so many friends on both sides that are so diehard and adamant and about the viewpoint, and then of course now we've had people doing the Monday morning quarterbacking and second guessing this and that, whatever. The bottom line, though, what I realize is that most of these people, and by large, most Americans, are very sedentary. They're not moving anywhere. So they're in little fish bowls, and they only surround themselves with like-minded people and people that are directly geographically around them. And they generally only listen to a source. And I'm, you're going to get arguments. People, oh, no, I listen to multiple places. Yeah. Not really. They basically get their news and talking points from one or maybe two or maybe a couple, but usually all aligned kind of places. And they lose complete sight of actually what the reality is. And I hope somebody out there listening is also a fellow traveler, let's call us. Do you see it the same way? Because, having spent the better part of the last, years, but let's just call it the last year while this political thing was going on, traveling around, going to multiple states, talking to people in all sorts of different climates and cultures and places. And you see a different vision. Like what you said, you told the story, Phil, of driving 4 years ago or whatever around the country. And you're right. You see stuff in a completely different. I don't know if it gives us the ability to be more what's the word? I guess non-biased, or I tried to look at this whole thing in touch, but also in touch in a way that isn't necessarily following what we might believe. So,
right.
There's differences with both of the candidates. In my personal opinion, I have issues personally with both sides. Certain things, right? I'm not going to agree with either party on every single issue, but I think that we were given the opportunity to look at it from a completely unbiased perspective, taking our own biases out of it. And when you said to me the week before the election, Trump's going to win by a landslide, I realized especially after you told me, you have an advantage because you're traveling, you see different things. And then I realized, wow, I was, when you said that, I was very hesitant to join your rah-rah team and say, oh yeah, it's going to be a landslide. It's going to be a blowout. It's not going to be close. And you know why? Because even I submitted to listening in my research. I listened to so much poll pundits and all this stuff because I was trying to get as much information as possible to talk to you guys out there and not sound like an idiot. But what I realized is that I took some of my travel experience away from that, because I think if I went into it just like you, Phil, I would have probably said the same exact thing you said. Although I came to the same conclusion that, he was going to win and whatever. I didn't go with it's going to be a landslide like it was. You called it dead on. I mean, it was a no contest scenario. He won every battleground state. They won the Senate. They've now won the House of Representatives as of a few minutes ago. I've heard a couple networks have called it the House of Representatives. They've got everything, and they won it. It wasn't even close. I mean, you can spin it any which way you want on numbers, but let's face it. Like his numbers from last election were up. Total vote count. He won the popular vote. Shit, I wouldn't have called that. I was hesitant about even calling that. And he won the popular vote, and like I said, all the battleground states, and he improved in blue states. He improved in New York City. He improved in California. He improved in New York. He improved everywhere, and then you can second guess the crap out of this whole thing, but it came down to what you and I said. Number one was the economy and how much it costs when you go to the damn grocery store. And that's what mattered. All this other nonsensical bullshit that we were listening to out there. And I'm not saying all those other issues are bullshit, but they're not, at the end of the day, clearly we voted together on this to say the number one problem in America and the number one priority is us at home and what the costs are. I mean, it's you can't mix that. The result is the result. There's no debating this. Right.
And I think that they were going to win overwhelmingly, like I said, because that was what I predicted. But they still won even bigger than I thought they were going to win. And the reason is because they kept insulting people. There were people that I talked to that were like really, they felt like neither was a good choice, but they were leaning toward Trump. But they were either one, embarrassed to say or to vote for him. They didn't feel comfortable letting it out. And then you hear the media and everybody saying that these people are garbage and they're unintelligent and that the women in the party are dumb and all of that. So I feel like they were going to win big, but they won even bigger because they pushed a lot of people over the edge with the insults. They really...
Because the bottom line is, I agree. Every time Trump or his team would do an insult, and we talked about this, like at the Madison Square Garden, the other side would come back with something even worse. And it's like,
yes.
Whoa. I mean, I hate to say it, but I expected it more out of Trump. But the bottom line is they both did it. And, and like you said, if he was already leading, it sure as hell didn't help her, and now we can analyze. I found it interesting. So this is where I am now. And I'm going to tell you my opinion why I think the Democrats lost. And I called this is the one thing I called weeks and months in advance. I told you the Democratic Party has completely gone off the rails. They have zero leadership. They have no idea what they're doing. And this election proves it. And by the way, they're not learning, because my friends out there that are strong, left-wing, liberal-leaning Democrats are bitching and moaning and groaning, and all you hear about is, oh God, he just appointed this fucking idiot, and because you're not hearing anything at all from them that has changed one iota. They're still stuck in the same rut that they were in prior to the election. You would think that if you got your ass kicked as bad as they did, you'd come up with a new strategy, and they haven't. And that's why I said before, the Democratic Party, I don't even think Kamala Harris lost. I think her party screwed her. She was a terrible candidate.
Was my prediction way back. She was the scapegoat.
Yep, her party screwed her.
Substance would have ever ran for 3 months.
Yep. That's right. So she kind of was in a no-win situation, anyways. But they haven't learned from this, and they're sitting there shaking their head, going, I don't understand how all these people could have voted for this evil man and how he could have, well, guys, it happened.
And
There's
the evil
obviously
man thing.
Yeah.
That was something. There are a lot of men that voted for Trump who wouldn't have voted for Trump. There are a lot of men who don't vote who voted for Trump, because there was this constant onslaught of just denigration and pejoratives toward masculinity in general.
Yep.
So you had men basically saying like, wow, so my basic, the essence of me just being a man to this party is disgusting.
Well, and that's the thing, is that's what I mean by it got off track. They were fighting about, genders, and they were fighting about, the abortion issue, and they were fighting about just they were so far deep in the weeds on both sides. And the bottom line is people were just out there going, God, I really wish my eggs were cheaper.
Right.
And the Republican Party did I'm not going to say they did a great job at it, but they did a better job at it of particularly since they weren't the ones in power, right? So they did a better job of being like, look, we need change, and people are out there going, oh, my eggs cost too much. Yeah, I want change. So of course they're going to win.
When you said the eggs cost too much, it reminded me of something that my wife told me early on. And now it sounds like really deep what she said. And you said that the eggs cost too much. Well, what eggs were they trying to save or not save? My wife said that they put too much emphasis on the abortion. I mean, not on the abortion, on the IVF and the
they did.
What do you call it? Because my wife was like our friends are probably in that range of people who can go to a doctor and have this procedure. But the issue that they were discussing was a upper class.
Yes,
on
upper
up.
class. It's expensive. Yeah,
no regular person.
The IVF treatments. No, not at a low income level. The problem is the Democratic
My wife
Party
showed me that a decent doctor in a major city who does this, it's a $10,000 consultation.
Yep.
And he might tell you he can't do nothing for you.
Yep. So the Democratic Party was supposed to be for the common people.
Right.
And ironically, they came across as the party that was far less about the common people. Yeah. They were talking about issues that were simply not common, whether it was that cost a lot of money, or they were talking about, the whole trans thing with once again, not common people. This doesn't affect the vast majority of people. The cost of eggs does. So they were on a lot of issues that were circumstantial, or they were just, they were wrapped up in a bunch of special interest groups. And, from what I can see from the dialogue that we've got going on right now, post-election, is that they haven't learned. Maybe they'll learn by the next 4 years. But let's put it this way. If they haven't learned indeed soon, then I can make my prediction now on the podcast right now that J.D. Vance is going to become the president for the next 8 years following Trump, and the Republicans will maintain the control of everything, because unless they change what they're doing on the other side, that's where it's staying, guys. When you've got all three, and arguably you got the Supreme Court as well, that's not going away.
They're talking about he might get up to 5 over the course of 4 years.
Absolutely. So, and I'm, as you know, the party in power is the one that is inevitably, potentially has the chance of looking bad, because anything that goes wrong at this point, or as of January 20th, is going to be Trump's fault, which rightfully so. If you're going to blame Biden for the last 4 years, you're going to blame Trump for the next. But here's the thing is, what I've seen in this first week is, I know I'm going to get flack for this. Here I go. I'm going to get flack. I've seen,
I know where you're going.
Something kind of amazing happen. To be totally honest with you here, I have seen more shit happen in 7 days than I've seen happen in the last 25 years. including, by the way, Trump's first term. Because let's face it, when he got elected the first time, he was a discombobulated idiot going into this. He was appointing people. He was all over the place. It took forever. He was trying to get people confirmed. This time around, he has gone into this thing as if he had picked these people months ago. He's nominated so many people already, and he is right, wrong, or indifferent. And whether you are totally against this or not, he has made it very clear what he's trying to accomplish. He's made it very clear who he's putting in to do it. And, you might not agree with the policy, but man, is he trying to enact it. And by the way, it's almost all change driven. And what did everybody just vote for? Change.
Right. But, and Mike, another thing that stands out about what you're saying is, did you see the memos and letters that were sent to him from the world leaders?
Yes.
They didn't give him like the general, oh, great, thanks,
Yep.
Good to go. They were like, can't wait to talk to you to end the war. Can't wait to talk to you to get this Ukraine situation.
Yeah, in 1 week, you've already heard about Ukraine. I've actually heard
Hamas,
actual solution.
Israel.
And I'm not saying I agree with them or that everybody's going to agree with some of the solutions, but we've heard in 1 week, I've heard 3 different potential solutions to the Ukraine thing. I've heard no potential solutions in the last 4 years, none whatsoever, other than sending a whole shitload of money. I mean, it's the only solution we've done so far.
The leaders of those countries are adamant about working with him to get to the solution. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing.
Right.
And that should give solace to anyone who is a blue or a liberal or whatever. Okay.
But it's not gonna, Phil. But it's not gonna. I agree with you.
I know.
I agree with you. But my point is what I've seen, unfortunately, instead of people that are on that side go, oh God, this sucks. And we didn't want this guy. We don't like this guy. We don't respect this guy. All good. You can have all those, you can feel that way. But what I want you to do for 5 minutes is go, let me breathe. The world didn't just fall apart. Let's see what happens. Because they got to admit at least something is happening.
And it should emphasize to them that the world is behind another ideology, another thought process, another person. Mm-hmm. And for those who couldn't clearly see that there was a big difference in capabilities between Kamala and Trump, this should make it clear to you. She was already in office. They wasn't trying to get in contact with her and do nothing.
Well, and the bottom line is like, you can see what his focus is on immediately. His focus is on taxpayers and our bottom line of how much eggs cost, the border, and foreign policy. Now, you could be the biggest Kamala Harris supporter that you want to be. She had zero experience in any of those categories. And, quite frankly, foreign policy was probably their, and I say there because hers and Biden's weakest thing, because look at all the shit that's going on. Nothing is under control anywhere. But all in this first week, you had what's his name in China. I mean, pretty reliable reports like that guy, shit a brick. They weren't expecting Trump to win. What's that?
He contacted Trump, though. He was one of the first people to contact Trump.
Yeah. Yep. Israel, Mexico. She came. I'm down here in Mexico, and Claudia down here, the new woman president of Mexico. She came out with a statement within minutes. I mean, she was on the news here as fast as before most of the networks had even declared Trump. That's how proactive they were about being involved, and that's a big thing. Regardless of whether they like him or not.
I think most people have a huge misconception of the mentality of a predator and of a bully. Mm-hmm. When we think of bullies and predators, we think of they're the strongest, they're the alpha, and that they can whoop everybody else. But in reality, go on a safari. The predator looks for the weakest person to attack. You don't go for the big ox. Same thing with a bully. The bully don't go slap or hit upside the head to somebody who's his contemporary, somebody who can compete with him.
That's right.
He slaps the guy that he thinks, and when I slap him, he'll just look at me.
Yep.
The point that I'm making is we look at the bully in the wrong way, and we shouldn't want the bully. We should want the bully. Am I making sense to you?
Yeah. Because right now we've got the guy that, you know, is just laying over and sitting on the beach in his beach chair. Nothing's happening. So
and I want to be clear. I'm not calling Trump the bully. I'm saying all these world leaders are bullies.
Correct.
And they was talking shit.
Yeah.
And they wasn't respecting us at all during this whole Biden administration.
Nope.
People starting wars, dropping bombs, talking directly to the administration in all kind of crazy ways.
Mm-hmm.
But none of the bullies they don't want nothing from Trump.
Nope.
Because he's a bully too.
Exactly. You're right. You're right on that.
The bully don't want to fight the bully.
I don't necessarily agree with all of his choices that he has made this week in positions, but I'm cautiously optimistic or cautiously just going to sit here and wait and see. You know, he's put a couple, particularly today, he made a couple announcements of some people that I was like, really? I think he's made some ones that, like, it's very clear how and why he's choosing them, because
loyalty.
Well, loyalty is one. Two, shakeup. He's looking for people that do not like the status quo in all departments. And I've noticed that, whether it's the UN, Secretary of State, Defense, he's trying to shake up departments. Look, he hired Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, or whatever his name is, to effectively look at all departments of the government and figure out where you can cut fat. Well, they're afraid of that. What's that?
Vivek Ramaswamy.
I
just don't want to hear nobody saying you got everybody else's names right or something like that.
You got to practice that one. That's like me practicing my Spanish here, trying to get the pronunciations right. But yeah, those are great picks because look, they're outsiders. They're outsiders, and they're going to look at it and go, what is this program? Why do we need it? Who needs it? What does it cost? How can we cut back? Because at the end of the day, I think you mentioned it on another podcast, and so did I. People get obsessed with what the national debt is, and in reality, that number is a load of garbage. Who gives a crap? I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you unless you were under your couch and not paying any attention during the pandemic, we just printed money to solve problems, right? So, and some, obviously it created other problems, but in some ways that worked. The point of my argument here is that national debt is an irrelevant, non-real, airy-fairy number that doesn't make any. And by the way, a lot of that Trump argued in his last administration was owed to China. I mean, you could, with a swipe of a pen, you could say, "We're never paying you back. Goodbye." And guess what? There's no more national debt because it's gone.
Back in 2016, Trump was talking about doing that, and they shouted him down about it.
Exactly.
They said it was so important for us to keep our relationship with China.
That's right. But there is no guy or no family that is in, mid pick a place, mid Ohio, mid Montana, don't care where it is, that really cares what the national debt is. What they care about, going back to the same thing, is what their cost of eggs are in the grocery store. That's what they care about.
Like the national debt is like your next door neighbor telling you he can't pay his bills and trying to make you feel like you're part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I could care less about that national debt.
That's right. Yeah, it's not me. Doesn't matter. I mean,
It ain't no national debt concerns when they send money to Ukraine. It ain't no national debt concerns when they send in all of this money all around the world.
That's right.
There's only a national debt concern when I say, give me $5.
That's right. That's right. And the other thing is you got to realize that national debt, the total number doesn't really mean anything. The actual individual terms of what was loaned and what the rate is what actually matters, which if you take the conglomeration of the entire debt, it's got different rates depending on what happened. There's lots of scenarios involved in this. So it's not apples to apples.
And it's similar to the way they do with commodities. Part of it is projection.
That's right.
Because sometimes when they're saying the number, they're like, we're going to be at this number in 10 years at the rate we're going.
Yeah.
So you never get the real number from them anyway.
No. And it doesn't matter. So to that point, I think that some of these nominations that he's made understand that from a business sense, like an Elon Musk as an example, who doesn't really give a flying rat's butt about the politics of it. He understands that isn't that's not the hot button of people that are on the ground. So they're going to look at stuff in a different perspective. And I you know what? It's about time the government looks at something in a different perspective. So I'm all for that. I'm not suggesting that I'm all on board this going in head first into this new plan, because the thing about the downside of what looks like he's doing, and I'm giving him this week of what he's done so far, is that there's going to be a lot of radical change. And we all know rapid change can be painful, right? And you will inevitably make some mistakes involved with that. So judgment's out to see what happens. But it is amazing to see something happen. That's the best way I can say it.
And another thing I like about all these announcements is, in general, politicians, they promise the world and they always talk about day one and the first 30 days or 100 days. And inevitably, they don't do none of that stuff. And if there's a interim in between when they were elected and actually taken the office, they generally spend that time trying to get you adjusted to the idea, well, we can't get all of that done in the first 100 days. And
that's right.
I'm going to need you to push me to get it, and all of that kind of crap. He's showing you, that's what you said you wanted. That's what I said I was going to do. I'm about to start.
Yep.
So right now, there shouldn't be nothing nobody got to say, really. I know better, but.
Well, you're right, because if you win an honest to God fair election, you win, you said you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And from day one, before you're even put into office, you're starting to do X, Y, and Z, then really nobody's got anything to say. And by the way, even some of the, quote, more controversial people that he's picked, are you surprised? He told you what he was going to do. These aren't shockers. He told you this before, and he still won. So the point is that people voted for this. So,
well, that's the part
shut
where
up.
I make the point that, and I made it last week, that every election they swear to God that the people made a referendum. And like I said last week, this is one of the rare instances where I actually feel that the people went out to vote and it was a referendum on the past and what they want in the future. So nobody should be in his way unless you just a pure Democrat.
It sure looks that way, and then post-election, a couple negative things have come out that I've noticed. And I did it just to preface what I'm about to say. I did some research on it, and I do realize there are cases that some of this is not proven, but what's your feelings, Phil? I mean, it's now come out and these numbers, by the way, are all going to come out anyways, because it's all public information and it has to be, that the Harris campaign spent $1 billion, went into debt, and paid a lot of money. And I've heard different varying things, and not all of it can be proven yet, but including a lot of money on celebrity endorsements, Whereas what I'm hearing is the other side spent considerably less money, didn't pay diddly do for a celebrity endorsement. What's that all about? And by the way, I'm not sure. I mean, Oprah got paid $1 million, and she said, "I did not get paid $1 million," and I'm sure she did not. But and then it came out
check to her production company.
Yep, exactly. And so whether or not it went in her pocket or not is irrelevant. The point of the matter is that she didn't support. So there's like, well, there's production costs. Well, look, if you're going to support somebody, you're going to be willing to spend the $1 million it costs you to go support them, right? It's not like she's hurting for money. So if you still require the $1 million to get her there, whether it paid for her food and gas and whatever else, that's a load of shit.
And Mike, we're involved in things like this to a certain level. So let's just get to the point. If Oprah supported her and money was an issue, if Oprah just showed up wherever she was and sat at a table and started interviewing her, the world would provide the cameras.
Exactly.
They could literally have done that interview for free and done just as well.
But we talked about this, and why didn't they do that?
One, because they couldn't have got none of them people to come and support.
Right.
That's the very first thing.
Well, and she couldn't have done the interview. That goes back to the same point you and I were talking about before. Well, yeah. She just can't do it. I mean, Joe Rogan came out, I think this morning, and gave further details as to why that the podcast never happened with Harris. And they had a laundry list of it was almost reminiscent of a rock band in the 80s asking that had only could have green M&Ms. Right.
Spill the beans, bro.
Yeah.
So what does she want?
Oh, I don't. It was hard to. I didn't read the whole thing. To be honest, I'm trying not to get sucked down into the minutia of the bullshit. But I don't know. It was just the timing, how long it could be, where it was, what questions could be. The usual bullshit, all of the stuff, as opposed to. I mean, it's hard to argue that, as opposed to Trump just going, yeah, I'll fly to Austin, I'll sit down for 3 hours, and we'll shoot the shit about UFC wrestling. Well, guess what? That worked.
And Mike, I did sales for a long time, and you learn certain barometers of, is this person actually buying, or are they just wasting your time? And they never wanted to do the podcast, and they weren't even sincere. This is all my opinion. They were never even sincere in that, if you do this, we'll interview. They were trying to throw things out there to get the no.
Yeah. And
it backfired on them. Mm-hmm. They thought they were going to come out looking a certain way.
Yep. Yep.
And that's a lack of understanding and reading the room and knowing who the hell Joe Rogan is.
Exactly. Because he's kind of a he's a little bit of a wild card. He at the end he came out and actually endorsed Trump. But you got to wonder, maybe that was because he got to spend 3 hours with him and he got to spend 4 hours with JD Vance. Maybe if she had gone in there and talked to them, maybe the outcome would have been different. Like, I actually think that's his personality. Like, if he heard something on the other side he liked, who knows? I mean, the trigger there is he's like best friends with Elon Musk, I think, is probably where a lot of that came from. He admitted to it.
So, straight shooter, Mike. If she had done the podcast, do you think she would have swayed him? You're saying that he didn't make up his mind until he did that interview with Trump. Is that what you believe?
I don't think she would have swayed him, because I don't think she's capable of doing that.
I think
that's why she didn't get elected, by the way.
I think without saying it, for almost a year now, Joe Rogan has been making it pretty clear that he supported Trump.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible.
If you listen to him, he never said it.
Well, he had Elon Musk pushing him.
Nobody on this podcast has said anything about who they actually support, but you can listen and have a general idea.
Yeah.
I don't think that it came down to that last week and him having an interview with
No,
Trump. And he was like, oh, I think I'll vote for Trump now.
No, I don't think that either. But
and I don't think there's anything Kamala could have came in there and said.
No, I agree. I do agree with that. But that is more reflective, in my opinion, of her candidacy in general. She just was a super weak candidate. Super weak candidate. I mean, I don't know how you could paint the picture any other way. I mean, by and large, most of the online pundits, including MSNBC and the ones on the left, pretty much have said that. Like, you know, in their post-election, trying to figure out after they got done crying what happened, you know, most of them have pretty much said that she wasn't that strong of a candidate. But you could have admitted that a long time ago. We already knew that. We knew that, you know, 3 years before she became the candidate.
So, Mike, let me ask you something. You're a single guy, and everywhere I read, all the women are getting together, and they're saying,
"Oh yeah,
no soup for you."
They're becoming Korean or whatever. Did you see that article about what is it 49 in or I don't know, some number or something?
I don't know the number in term, but they're talking about if you supported Trump, you get none.
Yeah. Good luck with that. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I got to be honest.
Well, what if they do it, Mike? You a single guy, you have your needs. How are you gonna handle this?
Yeah, find the cool ones. I'll be honest. I was actually a little bit surprised, but just hanging out here. Here I am, an outlier, right down here in Mexico. And you know, after the election happened, obviously I've got some friends that were extremely, extremely disappointed. But I've actually been surprised at how many people that I have run into just in the past week that, and by the way, most of them being women, that are on board, that support him. So the picture that has been painted is a fantasy drawing. It's not real. When it comes down to real life,
mm-hmm.
I mean, he won every segment that was to win.
So, Mike, it ain't that easy for me, you know. Without getting into any detail whatsoever, like you know, I have family
right
in politics.
Sure. Yeah.
On the Democratic side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was born and raised in a hugely blue Democratic city.
And it still is.
I have all kind of family and friends that they don't know who I voted for, if I voted at all. They just didn't like some of the things I had to say on this podcast.
Yeah, oh,
and I'm like,
well,
I didn't even know you knew I had one. I never. How did you even know I had a podcast? Was the major issue to me. No, but I'm serious. They are watching all my social media and telling me stuff. And it was like, you need to stick to the cars and trucks.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, that's funny. You know what? We share that in common, Phil. That I, as you, came from a extremely blue liberal state. I came from Connecticut, and my same thing. It's like let's just say I've had a number of people send me messages too, be like, I can't. You guys are talking like that, but you're being. I had one guy tell me, a friend of mine says, I don't think you got your eyes closed or something. You and Phil are not paying any attention to what really is happening. I go, sorry. We actually are paying attention.
And this goes back to the traveling thing, Mike. We need to do a podcast on travel and what it makes you aware of.
Yes, that's actually a great idea, because it's more than politics.
And not just us as the travelers. From my travels and going different places, crossing different borders, meeting different nationalities and cultures of people, you listen to them talk, and they know way more about politics internationally, and even more specifically about our politics, than the people that be shouting you down, talking about you need to pay more attention to politics. So that's one thing. You literally talk to a much more well-educated group of people when it comes to politics the moment you cross this border.
Yep. 90% of the people in the United States, and this goes for both sides, voted in this election largely on talking points. Okay. And even people that voted for Trump overwhelmingly here, that were voting for, quote, change and trying to get the grocery bill down, really didn't know all the issues or really understand all of it, right? But it's interesting you say that, because I'm sitting down here, the Mexicans down here, and by the way, there's very few Americans that are actually in this area where I am. It's mostly Canadians and largely from British Columbia. The Canadians know the American politics and the issues far better than any American that I've met. I mean, and I'm being real on that. They can spout, they can talk. So I had this conversation the other night with a woman from British Columbia that was talking. We were talking about the Rovers Wade thing and how it affected the election and the politics back and forth. And she was able to clearly and concisely explain to me the Rovers Wade decision originally when they made it, and why the Supreme Court overturned it, and why it was sent back to this, and why it was overturned based on what legal precedents and all this stuff. The only thing Americans know is we could do this, we can't do this now, and that's all I know. And it's not based on any reality, right? And they really don't know. And that's only because Fox or CNN or MSNBC told them this. They don't really know. They haven't read it. They don't understand it. So it was interesting to hear a Canadian spout up all this stuff, and it was refreshing.
So, Mike, I'm going to reveal something to the audience they don't know. I grew up in a very religious family. I went to theocratic ministry school as a child. I know the Bible back and forth. So I'm telling you that to set up what I'm about to say from my observations about Americans. When it comes to politics and when it comes to religion, we speak the strongest about those subjects, and we generally know the least about them.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something like I've observed, and I've like literally seen the most highly educated people do this all the way down to the lowliest. I've heard people quote things from the Bible that are not there many times. And the quote, I get it. They've heard it so many times from other people that they think that that's actually in the Bible. I've literally had people give me Farmer's Almanac quotes from Benjamin Franklin, and they thought it was from the Bible. Same thing, and it's the same dynamic with politics too. They don't have a Bible to reference to, but the CNN and other news agencies, that's their Bible. And they just take little grifts off of it the same way that they do with the religion. And they don't actually know, most people don't know anything about the religion that they feel so strongly about, and they don't know anything about the religion that they feel so strongly about. So, and I should have not said that, because I enjoy talking to people and they really think that they got the upper hand on the religious argument with me. But I just wanted to make that point that we are not what we think we are.
Mm-mm. No, it's as I said, I think last week, it's a sad scenario when, unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are under-informed or misinformed, and what, to be fair, the misinformation comes from all sides,
But what I'm saying is, everybody can hear something and be misinformed, but there is no intellectual curiosity.
Yes.
Mike, there are things that we have talked about. I trust your word.
Yeah.
I think you realize that.
Yeah.
But some things you say, I write it down, and as soon as we get off this air, I go check it out because I need to see it for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no intellectual curiosity in general amongst us.
No, and
that's just a fact.
I agree. I think that's the thing is like, this is we saw that. Here's a perfect example, not to send us down another rabbit hole, but the perfect example of that is the pandemic. So, we under questioned in everything. I think as a group of citizens, we didn't question our government enough. I don't think the government necessarily questioned the scientists enough. I don't think this, it goes right on down the chain, and you see what happens at the end of that. You've got, somebody said that to me the other night here too. We had this conversation. What happens if we have another pandemic? I go, well, I'll tell you what's going to happen in America. And this is regardless of whether it's a quote a real one or a fake one. Meaning, like, is it really gonna whatever? It doesn't matter. I don't think anybody in America is going to do anything the government tells them to do whatsoever after the last fiasco, regardless of whether or not it could be Ebola and it's killing 7 out of 9 people. And I don't think nobody's going to do anything. And that's unfortunate because you could have a scenario where certain actions are justified, but I think there's this it's the boy cried wolf scenario where nobody believes anything anymore because we didn't question enough the first time.
And then you got the other half that if this entity says it is true.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had that with the World Health Organization.
There are still people who will, in a debate or discussion or argument, be like, "Well, the government said," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
do you know history?"
That's the least trustworthy entity on planet Earth.
There are people who still to this day think that Pearl Harbor was a shock to us, and that we didn't realize it was happening until it was happening. I think that's a good example.
Yeah. Yep. So anyways,
they can't imagine the idea that we knew that they were observing us and spying on us for over a year and setting this up. And we knew the whole time. We actually even knew within a week of, we knew what week that they were going to do it and everything. The government literally had meetings on it.
Yep.
These are facts for those who, but you should know that.
You can go fact check.
Yes.
Well, anyways, that's kind of what I got for today. I don't know. Do we have more to talk about, or are we going to let people go and think and get back to us and tell us where do you guys stand now post drama and post everything? Are you able to detach yourself from this enough to look at it from, let's call it the 30,000 foot level and look down and say, maybe we need some change?
So we're going to wrap it up, but I'd just like to put it out there that either next week or the week before, we're going to delve a little deeper into why we feel so strongly that travel educates you about politics in the world.
Yep, that we got that coming up. We're also going to be talking about ideas for Christmas gifts, correct?
That's correct.
And we got a couple other surprises.
These are going to be well thought out gifts. They're not going to just be something we threw together to do a show. I think our gift list is probably going to be one of the best 2024 Overland gift lists. Period.
Yep. And then we got some guests that we've been backtracking. So we're going to get some guests on the show here coming up because we've got a little while here with the political situation happening. We haven't had any guests on in a little while. So I think
this is Mike telling me to get on my job.
Yeah, I got some ideas too. So we're going to get some cool people on here to talk. I actually got a guy coming down here. It's a buddy of mine. We're going to talk some. He's another guy full time on the road. We got some questions to ask him, so I won't tell you who it is yet, but we got some ideas.
All right, Mike. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
I got a lot to say, but it's just not going to fit into the time that we have here.
No, we'll let you guys go for this week, but Be sure to listen next week. We got a lot more coming at you.
All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.